everyone, you know what that sound means. It's time for another Reckoner podcast. And I am your host, Rajdeep Bank Wolf. There is no transition there, it's just straight into it. Ooh, like a rocket. Hello everyone, as you all know, your host Rajdeep, episode 2 of our live version. And joining me, as always, is the man, the mystery, the enigma, the wearing another pair of glasses because he broke his the other day, Mr. Anthony Aegis. How you going, buddy?
I am good. With my, these are actually my nice good glasses, but they have no bottom frame. So when you wear a mask, there's nothing to kind of keep it down, and so they all fog up. Whereas with these ones with the thick frame, they kind of weigh down a bit more. But they snapped. They were $11 off AliExpress. So that's what you get with an AliExpress glasses.
So does that mean that you're ordering a new one through AliExpress, or what's the go?
I would, but it would take too long to arrive. Probably by the time they arrive, masks will no longer be needed. So, yeah, for now I'm just going to put up with these and put up with the...
Okay, nice. Sorry, with my internet will we're both in new environments today, so things are all a little iffy. I don't know how things are going to go, but we'll see how. Oh, I'm just moving you around, people there. So we'll see how things go. Your background's changed. My background's changed.
Yep.
It's all happening. It's a new frontier. Yeah. Now the reason your background's changed is far more interesting than mine, though.
Yes. I'm in a smaller room because I've got a spare bedroom in my house, and which is smaller than my main study. So I figured I'm not going to be able to go to the cinema, I think, for quite a while. And if I can, it's going to be a bit risky. So I'm going to turn the larger study into a home theater, which I've wanted since I was like a kid. I always thought it'd be cool to have your own cinema at home, massive screen, a projector, dark room. So I'm finally gonna do it, and so I had to move all my crap out of that big study into this smaller one, and now got to paint the room, buy some equipment, pay some guy to come in and run cables for me and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully by Christmas it will be done, I hope.
You're going the full hog. I saw your tweet. You were doing like a 7.4.
Well, the Dolby Atmos 5.1.4. So 5 speakers around, 1 subwoofer, and 4 in the ceiling. So it'll have the full like 3D sound that goes over top your head and behind you and in front of you and sides. So it should be very cool.
Sounds very good. I think
150-inch screen is what I'm going for.
What are you going to get for that?
The an Epson projector, the
Projector. Yeah,
9400. Yeah.
I reckon projectors are one thing that I've tried to get to review for at least 5 to 10 years, and never.
They've never given to me to review.
No.
But I did ask Epson guy, can you give me a special price? And the price he got me was very good. So yes, so there'll be a review on Reckoner as a little thank you for that discount. So, but I mean, I chose it because it's the best 4K projector that you can get. That's not like $10,000.
Yeah,
because there's an actual genuine 4K unit. They start at about $7,500. That's just what they cost.
Wow.
So the one that I'm getting is like the best fake 4K. So it's a 1080p chip that projects the image.
Yep.
But they use some kind of thing called a pixel shift mirror, and the mirror kind of upscales it almost.
Okay.
And it's supposed to look very, very close to real 4K. And with my shitty eyesight and the distance from the screen, I think it shouldn't really matter too much.
You think you've got it covered?
And I saved half the price. So
yeah, that's good. Last year I got invited to I think it was called like the HiFi and audio show at it was at one of the hotels over in Albert Park, but they had some crazy setups. Like,
Like, you can spend like unlimited amounts of money. Like if
yeah,
you have no budget, you could spend like 100,000 just like that. Like, and yeah,
it was next level. Like, really, really impressive stuff. And basically, the way they did every room of the hotel, like they had these suite rooms and booked out half the hotel, which was like 100 odd rooms, and each company had their own suite, and then they'd set up like their own rigs and everything in the
yeah,
rooms. So you walk in, and all of a sudden you've got like the best version of the setup in that room or that environment. It was pretty awesome. Like I think the guys at AudioFly just did a review of their new earbuds a couple of weeks ago. They had a whole setup there, and we're pushing because they're primarily in the professional market, and now they're trying to get in the consumer one with their headphones and stuff. So yeah, it was really cool. It was worth going
are you
to.
using the audio flies now?
No, the Power Beats. So the
Okay.
audio flies. I think I had them in last time because they're much more discreet, whereas this
Okay.
is sort of more visible and whatever. But this was just exactly what I had on my desk because I moved from where I was staying in Adelaide before to another place in Adelaide up to my
Okay.
dad's place. So had to sort of throw everything in the car and migrate, and then I'm just now trying to figure out where everything goes again. So yeah, getting there. I know I've got them. They're just kind of in the midst somewhere.
Okay.
And then
Some
yes, so you're in another room because you're converting the other one into a home theater. How does your wife feel about the home theater?
Well, that was her idea.
Oh, really?
So yeah. She's keen as for it. So yeah, all good.
I don't know if perhaps it's just like our generation growing up, but having like that home theater was sort of like the epitome.
You're
Like,
rich.
yeah, like
Yeah.
you've made it.
I'm rich. Yeah. I'm a rich man who has nothing else to want except to waste money on a home cinema. That's how much money I have now. I can just burn it on a big TV screen with some loudspeakers that go poof 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 poof.
What is the first movie you watch once it's done?
Saving Private Ryan is always fun, but I think Mad Max Fury Road, like that's like the
Really?
2020 version of that because it's in 4K. It was like made in 4K, and it's got the Atmos sound.
Yep.
So I think Saving Private Ryan doesn't have Atmos. So but yeah, I think either Mad Max Fury Road or Saving Private Ryan. They're like all right, let's hear some loud soundtracks and cool visions. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
that'll be the first thing.
Um, is 1917 out on Blu-ray?
Ah, it probably is by now.
Or Dunkirk maybe? That'd be another good one.
Dunkirk
Yeah.
in IMAX is the best movie I've ever seen.
Oh,
Like,
I wholeheartedly agree. It
it
was
was so good in
fantastic.
IMAX.
Yeah.
I watched it in a normal cinema. I'm like,
What's the
what is
point?
this? Is this the same movie? In IMAX though, it is fantastic. So
Yeah. I think I mentioned I saw Tenant, which is another Nolan film.
yes, I'm not seeing it until I can see it on the big IMAX screen. So
Yeah.
hopefully soon.
I would definitely suggest you wait. Like, I mean, I really enjoyed it, but when you know that he's filmed scenes in IMAX, you really want to have that experience. Anyway, so we've covered home theater for the day. That's good. I did buy the new or got given for my birthday present actually for my 40th this year. I got the new Sonos Atmos play bar.
Okay.
So I had that set up at my mum's place, which I was at before in Adelaide here, but haven't really had a chance to put it through its paces. But doesn't quite fit into the setup that you're going for though. But I'll be interested to see what receiver alone you pick because that's a big.
Yeah, I haven't. There's so many to choose from. Like, I need to actually spend time looking at the different ones. So,
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards like a Denon system
Yeah.
because everyone seems to recommend them as like you can't really go wrong. Whereas Like the Yamaha, some of them are not good. The Onkyo ones, some of them are better than others. So, but I really need to look at some reviews and see the prices I can get them for, because there's so many different, like there's like three or four in each brand that cost like $1,000 each, like in difference. So it's like, what am I paying that extra $1,000 for? Is it a better amp or just features like Spotify or a Pandora, which I'm never going to use on that thing? So
Yeah. And I mean, most of them have AirPlay built into them now anyway, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the networkable ones have like AirPlay or the Chromecast stuff built in.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's. I guess we should talk some tech news. I'll get around to it at some point.
At some point.
But I'll tell you what. I'll do you a favour. We'll loop it back into something that you've got a personal invested interest in. How's that? Let's kick off this episode with a discussion on Tesla's recently announced full self-driving mode.
Waste of money. Yeah.
Yeah. You could sell that and get a home theater.
I can actually sell that for what I paid for it. So yeah.
Yeah. Elon tweeted out that the full self-driving beta mode would be, full self-driving mode would be released to a group of beta users, which has gone out to a small selection over the past week. And the new mode, which originally was supposed to enable the basically driving from someone's home to work without any intervention, was going to be released to a small subset of users, with the heavy caveat that they should not take their hands off the wheel, and to see how this goes before rolling it out very slowly to a larger number of users. Now, other than an investor's call and sort of tweeting this out, I haven't seen a lot of extra info. I know there's a few YouTube videos around of people that have received the update, walking us through what the updated UI looks like and things like that. But Ant, is this the true version of full self-driving that Elon was talking about, or is this some hybrid cut-down version that he's calling FSD?
It's what Tesla reckons is full self-driving. So it can theoretically take you from point A to point B with no intervention from yourself. The caveat is it doesn't work. So you kind of can't do that. Like all the videos I've seen of it, because there's about, I think, 100 people got like God mode to be able to. Like, it seems to be delivered to particularly YouTube personalities who are very Tesla friendly, who will not disparage Tesla in their videos, and they've reviewed it. One video, there's a guy, he got a drone to follow him as the car drives, so you could see what it looks like from outside the car, and see it almost crash into things like multiple times. So when it goes around corners, it crashes into parked cars. At traffic lights, it kind of goes into the wrong lane. It wasn't quite. He had to concentrate so much to not let the car do something stupid. It defeats the purpose of having the feature in the first place. So it's very clearly the system is still learning, and arguably a lot of experts think it can't be done using the way Tesla is trying to go about it. Because on the Tesla car, there's no laser sensors, and the radar sensors that are on the car for when you drive most cars these days, they have like the things that beep as you get close to a wall or close to a pole or something. The Tesla has that, but apparently it doesn't use that for the self-driving stuff. Like it's a very limited range kind of radar, not for like far distance, kind of try and predict what's in front of you. So it's very limited to just what it can see. So if it can't see, it can't work properly. And now on my Tesla in the garage, there's bugs all over the cameras. Like there's tons of them because of driving in summer in the country, and it tells me like camera obscured or autopilot's not going to work. So that alone is like, well, I can't use it because it's dirty. When it's heavily raining, it says you can't use it. when it's foggy, it doesn't detect cars in front of you. So there's a lot of scenarios where it doesn't work very well. So because of that, people think that it's just not going to happen with the hardware Tesla has in it. So kind of full self-driving, sure, with a big asterisk that like, yeah, in very, very select circumstances on certain conditions, and you still have to hold the wheel because if it does something suddenly, you need to take over. So it's a bit of a, I think it's a waste of time, but people pay $11,000 to have it on their car. So, yeah.
Yeah, I saw over on Tech AU, like the fellow Australian blogger, like he's very heavy into
Very heavy.
Tesla.
You could even say he's drunken the Kool-Aid.
But like, yeah, $8,500 just for that upgrade or the ability software wise to do
Well,
it.
that's changed now. So in my
Right.
app, it's 11,000. So
Yeah. Wow.
yeah,
That's
they keep on increasing it the more features it gets. So Elon says on Twitter that now that it's in limited beta, when it goes to full beta, so everybody gets it, but in beta, it's going to cost, I think, 12,500 US dollars. So it'll
yeah.
be
Wow.
about 15,000 here. So as it gets more reliable, the price goes up.
How? So it's just relying on lidar essentially to
No,
do
no,
its.
not that. It's just cameras and
Wow.
machine vision learning. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
there's no lidar sensor. There's no car-to-car
Communication.
communication. No sensors in the road. It's just pure, pure cameras. Yeah, which is why people
Wow.
think it doesn't. It's not going to really achieve what they say it could achieve.
Yeah. So in terms of autopilot, how often are you using that?
Well, the version of autopilot that I have simply it'll do the distance cruise control, so it'll keep a gap between you and the car in front, and it'll steer you in your lane. If I paid for the full self-driving package, that would also on highways take over cars for me, stop at red lights, go at red lights, and a few other small things to drive itself. So whenever I use it, I find that I have to. First of all, it warns you after 10 seconds if you don't move the wheel a bit. It tells you, "Hey, move the wheel."
Yeah.
So that's one thing that's kind of annoying. I can't just like let go or loosely hold it. You have to kind of grip it, which is annoying. And it likes to get too close to trucks. So when you've got a big truck in a lane next to you, it doesn't move over in the lane to create a gap between you and the truck. And sometimes trucks get too close to you, and the car's a bit too slow to move over to the left of the lane. And that's a bit scary. You've got this giant semi-trailer with like 3 containers on it, just getting into your lane a bit, and your car does nothing. So you have to take over. And then if you want to overtake a car, which happens a lot, you need to turn off the autopilot, go over around the car and turn it back on again. And sometimes if you're driving on a busy highway, it's on, off, on, off. You may as well just leave it off and just do it yourself. So I haven't found it to be that useful. And the distance cruise control sometimes just doesn't work because it's too sunny. Like especially like at dawn or at dusk when the sun is setting or rising, it'll obscure the cameras and the car just comes to a stop. It just does like a hard stop because it can't see what's ahead. And it's very scary because if you do it on the freeway, the car's behind you, it'll crash right in the back of you, and when there's nothing in front of you. So it's not as reliable as other automatic cruise control systems like that I've seen on the Toyotas or Hyundais, which use a radar, not a camera. I found them to be rock solid. Whereas the camera ones, like on the Nissan Leaf and the Tesla, there's conditions where they do and don't work, which is quite annoying.
One of our viewers, Bill, has just asked, would it be legal in Australia?
Tesla doesn't care. they'll sell it anyway, whether it's legal or not. Probably isn't, but Tesla just do it anyway. And if you get caught, plead ignorance, I guess. I don't think the police aren't. If you're in an accident and you're using full self-driving, it's your fault. Like you assume the responsibility in terms of what Tesla will say. Tesla will say, "Well, you're supposed to be paying attention. It's your fault." The road rules assume you're always in control of the car. It's your fault. So yeah, it's probably not allowed. As in, but there's no specific law saying it's not allowed. Like it's not banned, but it's not permitted either. So that grey area is where Tesla goes, we'll just put it out there and see what happens, which is kind of scary that Tesla just go, all right, stuff it. We'll let our users better test this in this 1,500 kilo bullet on the freeway.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a bit scary when you think about that. I had no idea how I guess how rudimentary the sensors were
Yeah,
on.
it's not advanced. I mean, what's advanced is they built their own SoC, like what Apple does, and so there's a Tesla chip in there, like that Tesla designed with their own hardware uh, engineers,
Yeah.
and it does a lot. It's a very fast machine learning, like a camera detection engine, and it's very good at image recognition. But that alone, I don't have much faith that that is enough to be safe. There's
Yeah.
too many edge cases where it'll fail, and the human, like the SAC, SAE, who are like the American auto engineers, they've said, and the NHTSA, which is the kind of like the US highway car regulator, point, humans should not. It should either be the humans in control or absolutely no control. That grey area where you have to kind of monitor and watch and keep track of the car while it does its own thing is very dangerous because the humans, which I've noticed myself, tend to just tune out and trust the car too much when really it can't be trusted, and that's where it gets very dangerous. And that's where full self-driving sits at the moment on Tesla cars. It's in that grey area where it's not. You're not in control because you're a lazy human. It can't do it all itself, so you can't rely on it. That's a recipe for mistakes. People counter that argument by saying, "Well, it's safer than just a person on their own. It's better than just you." But I don't know if that risk. Everyone has their own different risk settings, and I'm not. I know myself that I'm not cautious enough to trust myself relying on the computer because I know I'll trust it too much and get complacent in how I monitor it. And the moment I do, I run into the back of a semi-trailer and it's all over. So
I think, and you're not only monitoring what's going on as if you were driving, but you're also monitoring what the car thinks is, or what you think the car is going to think it's going to do. So like you're adding extra elements on top of it, layer on layer. Makes it very
lots of
complicated.
people who have never had a car that does the automatic cruise control distance, they get that confused as an autopilot feature and say, "Oh, it's great having this on because I don't have to worry about the car in front of me. I can just turn on cruise control. If the car in front of me is like a kilometer or two slower or faster, it's fine."
Yeah.
But that's on almost every modern car these days. That's
it's
not
hardly
particular. And done better on other cars, I think. So people say it's a lot easier on the highway to drive like that, which it is. But when you add in the steering feature, which is the autopilot, that's where it gets a bit. I'm not too confident in it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I'll be buying a Tesla anytime soon, anyhow. So I'm not too concerned about it. But for those that do, it scares me. Like just driving around today, I saw at least 4 Model 3s within a space of about 3 minutes in Adelaide, and so it's not like they are quite popular at the moment for a status type car and the advantages that you might get out of it. But the idea of having them drive around, especially without the right system embedded in it, it is quite scary, and it's not safer until it's sort of like this car's talking to every car and there's an open standard and we're all sort of anyway, we'll see what happens, I guess.
Well, there's 5,000 Model 3s in Australia, and there's about another 1,000 coming on the by the end of the year. So there's a lot of they've sold more Model 3s than like I think Lexus cars.
Wow. Okay.
So they're quite popular now in Australia, despite the
Hmm.
cost and the battery stuff. So there's going to be more and more sold. So
Interesting. All right. Well, Tesla aside, let's jump on to something else a little bit different, which I just picked up in the Sizzle actually last week. Good newsletter. A few
yes,
people might have read it.
it's not bad.
I found this one really interesting. I didn't even hear about this until it came through on the newsletter the other day. A think tank. I always love a think tank. A think tank has recommended that the ABC make its own social media site to replace Facebook. The Australian Institute Centre for Responsible Technology has published a report about what Australia should do if Google and Facebook decide that they don't want to pay whatever this government's fees are for republishing media by sharing it on their network. So this think tank's solution was that the ABC should just create their own social network. And I'm sure that that's something that the ABC really, really want to be doing. But it has potential, I guess, that it could take off. I doubt it, but it's an interesting thought. I don't know. What about you, Anne? What do you think it's something
It
that
is
we want?
it is interesting because you'd assume, being by the ABC, there wouldn't be ads, so that
Hmm.
would take out one kind of toxic part of the social media relationship. Um, but then, yeah, it's like, what would be who would you really need to encourage people to use it somehow? Like, it'd be weird using this like, oh, we haven't got Facebook or um, Twitter, maybe even. So it's like, all right, we have to use the ABC's chat thing. I don't
Yeah.
know. It seems very remote that those companies, like especially Facebook, would just get up and leave the country. Like they will. I think they will definitely stop um, publishing, like letting links to news. So if you have, there'll be like a whitelist of domains that if you post, you just won't let you post them. I think that's a very real possibility because they are not going to pay whatever ransom the media companies and the ACCC force them to pay per link or per click or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So there's a very high likelihood that Facebook will go, look, if you post the link that's 9.com.au, abc.net.au, 7.com.au, theage.com.au, it'll just kind of with a warning saying, due to outrageous licensing fees, we are not allowed to let you post this link, and please delete the post, and you
Yeah.
can't post. That I think is real, but I don't think that's enough to force people off the platform. If anything, it could make it better because you won't get all the most of the crappy posts from like weird relatives and the psychos come from some news article.
Yeah.
If that was all gone, maybe Facebook would be a better place. It would be more about what people are doing and what they've done rather than commenting on news articles and sharing them and creating angst and all that kind of stuff. So it could
Yeah.
actually be a good experiment for Facebook to see what happens when you stop news sharing. And if it goes well, maybe they'll stop it in the USA or something. It's like, hey, we actually don't need this. People actually are more engaged and use it more without all the toxic liability that having the news brings. So who knows? Could be a silver lining for Facebook there.
It'd almost be like it was a social media platform that was there to connect with your friends and family and share
Yeah,
photos with them.
yeah. Fancy that. Fancy that. The Facebook would have faces on it, and you can connect to them.
Oh, and you'd have a chronological feed of the events
Yeah,
that they posted instead of
yeah,
a algorithm generated one.
yeah. Or even if the algorithm decided to just show me nice things instead of, you know, your friends got a new job instead of your friends commenting on Dictator Dan.
But I get a lot of videos about like recommendations on Facebook for like I don't know, it's just like watching metal stuff get made. Like
I get that sometimes too.
yeah, it's just random, or or resin or wood or something, and it's like how this thing has been shaped and molded into another thing. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. And then the other thing that I constantly get streams of is just fake videos of people getting angry at one another for parking in weird places. Like,
and do fake ones. Like
they're just so fake. Like everything about it is fake. The activewear attire that the woman that's parked at the wrong angle is wearing. Then like just how they defeat this person, like putting post-it notes all over. Like it's just bizarre, and it's so set up. It's like watching Home and Away, but for parking videos,
bizarre.
because that's just the acting is so terrible. I don't know what they hope to achieve out of this stuff. Anyway,
I've never never heard of this genre of videos. Never seen them.
I'll send you some. There'll undoubtedly be some in my feed tonight. So I will pass them along. As for the ABC actually running this thing, or any government body running this thing, I can see how that would have merit in terms of, you know, not having the commercial gains required to make the platform viable, and, you know, no advertising and stuff like that. But I think it would introduce a whole range of complexities around, you know, Johnny Smith is sharing like Nazi material, so you know, the ABC would have to police that as a government like system and do it well, whereas Facebook kind of just, yeah, we kind of look at things and mark links as fake and stuff like that. So it could be the flip side of them, only allowing you to share content from a certain realm of providers that they know are sort of following an ethical guideline, or, you know, The Guardian, or ABC News themselves and stuff like that.
Like reputable sites.
Yeah, reputable. So like white labeling rather than the other way. Yeah.
But see, we already have an Australian social network, and it's called Whirlpool. Why can't we just use that? It's perfect. Make it mandatory. So when you log into MyGov, there's like Whirlpool there. And you share stuff through. I
mean, there's no trolls on Whirlpool at all. Like, no. That's an upstanding forum.
Yep. Very clean. Everyone's very, very nice and polite. They answer your questions directly and with honest answers. So I think it's good. Build on top of the already Australian-made product.
Probably running what, PHP BB 3.0 or something like.
Yep. Well, it still works. Like, it's still there. It still gets tons of users.
I can't tell you the last time I've even looked at Whirlpool, let alone thought about it. All right. Well, speaking of governments, whilst we're on the topic, let's segue into Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I have to always look at the name whenever I pronounce it. Playing Among Us, which is a very popular game at the moment, on Twitch, with up to 435,000 concurrent users, I think it was, for her first Twitch stream. One of the biggest streams of all time on Twitch. Suck that, Ninja. Politician getting right up there into the top 3, I think it was, and causing a bit of a news cycle, I guess, around it. Putting a spotlight on gaming in the current situation of the current day and how popular it is. Putting a showcase on politics. The US election is tomorrow. Well, it's Wednesday, I guess, for us in Australia, and really shining a spotlight on that. And just having a good time. Now, she's a gamer. I'm pretty sure she plays League of Legends quite religiously from memory, and has been for some time. So this is no giant leap for her, not a big publicity stunt in that, I guess, course of thinking. But she is a very polarizing figure in the political world as well, extreme left. And some people enjoy that, and others despise that. But politics aside, I thought it was quite an interesting sort of story, and really shows just how important or how relevant gaming is in this day and age. That a politician of all people could get so many concurrent viewers on a live stream. And using it really as a good platform to speak to young people that maybe they're not voting right this minute, but puts it in their mind, especially in the US where voting isn't a requirement, that this is something they should think about. This is like something that they should really get interested in and have the voice and the say to enact some change, which I think is a really interesting way of going about it. I also believe, I think Bernie Sanders did a Twitch stream or was involved in a Twitch stream a while ago as well, but nothing to this scale. And what do you think of AOC playing Among Us? Did you watch the Twitch stream?
I watched like a highlights clip of it.
Yeah.
And what it showed to me is it gives the politicians a chance to show that they're human. Like I think there's a lot of politicians who are just jerks. Like you have to be a certain level of sociopath to become a politician. Like to reach a certain level, you have to be an ass.
Yeah.
There's no way about it. They are generally dislikable people, politicians. It's hard to like them because that's just the nature of being a politician. Whereas you got to see her as, oh look, she's not like at least what she did in the stream. She's a genuine person,
just a human being.
Knows how to talk as like a normal human, not some robot or not a hate-filled jerk. Or you just got to see her, enjoy a game that millions of others enjoy with a little bit of this is what I think you should. This is why voting is important. There actually wasn't a lot of political. Like she wasn't there particularly just to preach what she was on about. She was there to play and discuss what was brought up in the chat because she's a politician. And there was one thing I thought was interesting where there was a UK gamer who was playing with her. I think he's a very popular gamer. I don't know who he is, but he was from the UK. And someone in the chat asked, what do you do in the UK when you're sick? Like, do you just go to the hospital and they help you? And the guy was like, yeah, like I just go to the hospital and the doctor helps me. And AOC was like, what, you don't pay? Like there's no credit card involved. You just go. And he's like, yeah, the medicine's free. The medicine's given to me. X-rays are free. And she was blown away. Like she didn't seem to know herself what it was like in the UK and like Australia. You got sick, you go to the doctor. Like there's no money transaction involved most of the time, for most simple things at least. And that was able to kind of wake up a lot of US viewers, people watching in the stream were like, what? How come the UK, like, they just did not have the perception that it could be a thing for them to just have free medical care. And I think that exposing of ideas was also very useful. That I think to reach that audience, Twitch is one of the few ways you can do it. If you bought an ad, it's just not going to work. You put in the newspaper, they're not reading the newspaper. They're not watching free-to-air TV. They're not even watching YouTube ads. They're watching people on Twitch, and to be where they are is a great way to kind of, like you said, seed that thought in their mind. So when they do vote, or if they do feel like voting one day, they remember, oh look, there was that person on Twitch. I know who they are. They've conditioned them almost to have a certain frame of mind, and that's what politics is all about. They've been doing this for generations, reaching the youth is one of the hardest things to market to. And for politicians in particular, who usually have quite a boring message, to be able to do what she did is actually a really great way. And also be interesting at the same time. If you don't really want to watch politics, you can still watch her, and she's still quite engaging Twitch personality. It's not as if she's just a boring politician who wants to get you to vote or get you to do what she wants. It's just happens to be a byproduct of her being a reasonable, nice person.
Yeah, I guess it's like human conversation. It's like,
Yeah,
I mean, politicians are politicians, I guess, but just that what you want from a politician is be able to approach them with a problem or a concern and have them empathize with you and like understand that this is an issue for you and represent you as the community, not what politicians normally do. I
which is
guess.
just yeah, distract you and do whatever they are told to do by their party, which is usually not connected to any relevant human level stuff.
No, and I personally think like Dan Andrews did that very well throughout the whole lockdown period and related to people and was doing what he believed was the best for people in their own individual right and health, and wrongly or rightly, if you agree with that, then that's fine. But and the economic impact of that is obviously huge, and a lot of people are affected in different ways. But yeah, not to get too deep into politics, like just having that personal level of connection is so humanistic that we've missed out on it in a lot of ways. And the fact that she's not 75, like
Oh, exactly. She's 31. Like
yeah,
she's younger than us.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's
yeah, like,
just
that helps too. Like it's more natural for her to do these things. Like she's grown up with gaming.
yeah,
Like she's probably played in a Nintendo console all her life or something like that. So it's not as if it's a big stretch. Whereas, most politicians are so disconnected from what my life experience is. It's hard to imagine them playing a game, let alone doing it earnestly on Twitch live for like 4 hours.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy to me that the two U.S. presidential candidates that America has, like our 76 and 74 or 78 and 76, like it's just mind-boggling. Like either of them could just fall over tomorrow. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy. And the median age for senators over there is like in the 60s or something. I'm just completely guessing here, but from what little I know about US politics, it's crazy. But whilst we are on the periphery of US politics, and with the election so close, and we're just days away of potentially getting a result, depending on what Trump decides he wants to do at the end of it. We've seen Trump bring together a whole bunch of tech people early on in his presidency and sort of say, this is, oh, hey, Tim Cook, hey, who else was there? Sergey?
Team Apple. He called
Tim,
him Team
Tim
Apple.
Apple. Yeah, Tim Apple. He had representatives from Jack, old mate Jack was there, and most of the social media networks. I, I honestly don't remember what he was trying to achieve out of it.
I think it was like some kind of like jobs for America thing, or because I mean
Yeah,
they are the richest businesses in America, like Apple, Alphabet, Amazon, Facebook, and Microsoft. They're the five richest companies in the USA, which is the world's largest economy. They're the ones driving the stock market. If you took those five companies out of the market indexes, the market would be losing money. So Trump's claim of like, "Hey, we're doing better than ever," the stock market's going crazy, is mostly because of those five companies, which he has absolutely nothing at all to do with.
is that you doing
So
the Trump dance there?
Trump dance. So, but it's weird. But they keep on. They finally sued Google like last week for antitrust about their search thing. So the Department of Justice said you have a monopoly in search, search ads, and a third category. But those three areas, Google's been sued that they have to defend themselves now in court, and they'll be punished. And there seems to be the timing of it's very interesting that they did it like a week before the election. And they're also pissed off with social media because there's a law they want to change called Section 230, which is a law. It's just like one sentence in this overall larger law, that gives social media companies or any internet sites, they're not liable for what their users say. So if I go on Facebook and say kill all Jews, and someone sues me for it, or sues Facebook for it, they're not allowed to, they can't be sued for what I say on their
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they want that changed now, so that not so that they can be sued, but so that they have to publish like very clear rules around what can and can't be taken down, and they have to prove they're not biased in some way. Like they have to. There's always like they want to add all these little checks and balances, which seem to be coming from a place of fairness, but really, if you read between the lines, it's they want to be able to say hateful things, spread their bullshit without any consequences.
Yeah.
Because what's happening now is a lot of stuff that Trump posts, his buddies post, are getting deleted. They're not putting up with it anymore. They're finally starting to fight back against their platforms being used as a propaganda machine for hate. And when they're removed, the people who post it get very upset. Instead of going, all right, maybe I shouldn't post that kind of crap. I should think about what I post. They just whinge and say we're being censored. And that's what this law is really coming from. They want to be able to not... Stuff that's deleted has to also be proven why you deleted it. And they think it's because of bias, because it's all run by lefties in San Francisco. That's what they think that the problem is. So, but that law hasn't been changed. But that's on their list of and it could still be changed before Trump leaves the White House if he loses, because he doesn't have to leave until the new president comes in. So there's still a whole bunch of things that the FCC, who are the regulators of that law, could still do. So that would be very, very interesting, because if that happens, the flow-on effect is they could do that. You'll see all kinds of things posted there, and social media sites can't get rid of it. They have to put up with it, and it's bad enough as is. So that'll be a fascinating thing to see if that happens.
Yeah, it's really going to be interesting for a lot of reasons. I think the next couple. I don't think I remember seeing this much coverage on Australian media for a US election ever before.
I've seen so many ads for Sportsbet, like promoting their Trump betting. Like you can bet on all thousands of different things, and they're actually funny ads. But I think they've had like a few $100 million of people betting on the US election. Like that's how much people seem to care about it, and it's it's going to be like wall-to-wall coverage on the 24-hour news networks in Australia about it.
Well, 4 years ago, Sportsbet paid out Hillary Clinton for the win a day before the election started. So they lost a lot of cash. Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't think they'll be doing that this time around, even though the odds are heavily
stacked. They'll be waiting
stacked.
for a confirmation from some official body.
Yes, well, as they should, and that may come. Who knows?
Months.
Yeah. All right, moving along. That's enough of politics. Well, kind of moving off from politics. Let's jump over to our old friend, the NBN. The NBN has come out saying that they will potentially get up to 750 megabytes on nearly all HFC premises by the end of 2021. This also comes in conjunction with an announcement saying that they would be upgrading certain areas of fibre to the node to fibre to the curb. There was a very small subset. I think it was about less than 7% of the footprint. There was about 10 suburbs in that announcement. But the HFC one, I think, is something that can potentially affect a wider audience, purely because there was such a large existing HFC network that they've tried to repurpose. It's saying here that they expect by June 2021 over 2/3 of the premises of the HFC network footprint will be able to order NBN ultra-fast broadband, and forecasts by the end of 2021 nearly the entire footprint will be under that. What they're calling ultra fast is between 500 megabit to a gigabit. They're sort of aiming around that 750 mark with burst capacity to 990, but between 1 to 50 seconds at least once a day is what they're quoting on the burst there, which is an interesting sort of metric. I'm in a HFC footprint, both here in Adelaide at my dad's, also at my mum's where I was at before, and then also back home in Melbourne. So I'm very interested to see what this pans out to be like, and whether it actually comes true or not. And you're obviously on fibre to the home and have like 700 connections coming into your house at the moment. Do you see this as a real thing, or is this going to be more of the my neighbour's downloading something, so I'm back to 50 megabit?
It'll be interesting to see how they, because HFC is a shared medium at the end of the day. Like
Yeah.
you've got a small little node of users on your connection, and that's why I think they can't promise a gigabit. Like they just can't promise that each user will get gigabit in their street. There's only so much capacity on the 5 or 10 houses hooked up to your wire, essentially. But it could definitely happen. Like in the USA, they do it. It would be one of the fastest HFC networks in the world. Most countries have replaced it, going straight to fiber. They don't really bother upgrading.
Most normal, like forward thinking.
Quite difficult. Yeah. For NBN, this is quite normal. Like pushing this dead horse.
Yeah.
Like they've spent so much money on it. They could have just given people fiber to the home. But there's good news, which I think is more interesting. Fiber to the node premises that did kind of the crappiest fixed line connection. They're allowing people, because NBN has a thing called technology choice, where if you wanted to pay a few $1,000s, you could upgrade from whatever you've got to fiber. And in the past, you had to pay for a quote, and you paid for that quote a few $100s, and then you would get a quote back that could be anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 to $20,000, and then you had to decide whether to pay it or not. Then they went and reduced the price to just like a fixed cost. It's like, yep, you can get it for like $2,500. Now they're actually making it so that if you're on FTTN and you agree to go on a 3-year 100 megabit or a gigabit plan, they'll do it for free. So you'll be upgraded from fiber to the node to fiber to the home for free, on the condition that you stick with a high-speed plan for X amount of years. That's pretty good. They've announced about 40 areas that are getting that ability, and so that's quite good. It means if you want fiber to the home, you can get it for free. You just have to pay for those faster plans, and if you don't stick with it, you have to pay out the cost of the install. So and the NBN's paying more money for this. They've announced an extra $5 billion of funding. So a week after they said mission accomplished, network complete, they said, all right, here's $5 billion to upgrade it. So that was a bit of a stupid thing. They had to upgrade it as soon as they finished it. But yeah, so if you're on FTTN, you would definitely want to upgrade to at least like 100 megabit fiber to the home. So that the 1050 plans are pretty good for 140-ish a month. You get massive download and decent upload. So I think those are quite worth it.
Yeah, I would definitely. But this is fiber to the node only that can go the upgrade path.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, there's quite a lot of people on that, right? Like it's not like it's a small footprint, but
it's the main technology type in
the
NBN.
Yeah. Wow. Crazy. Another 4.5 billion. 75% of the NBN's fixed line network will be able to access 1 gigabit speeds by the end of 2023 with this $4.5 billion initiative. So, not yet. Job done, but let's spend a little more cash and do it a little bit better, and then hope that 5G doesn't pick up.
Well, that's the thing. That's why they're doing this, because 5G is here now. And the telcos have said, like Vodafone has said, like, we're going to sell this to people cheaper than what NBN costs.
Yeah.
So they'll get
And Voda
faster
and
speeds.
TPG are coming out with a network next year, early next year.
Technically, it already exists in
Yeah.
like 2 places in Sydney. So but they're going to have a wider rollout starting now. And yeah, next year's the year for Vodafone and TPG's 5G.
I have been, I've got to say, I have been enjoying all of these. The people that have gone out and got the new iPhone, they've got 5G, they think it's amazing. There's a set, they come across the 5G logo spins up in the top corner. They do a speed test. The results are average, and then there's like this. It's 5G over. It's like fake 5G over LTE, and then you get a real 5G, and that's when your ratings, your speed boosts go through the roof. But it's like you've got this 100-meter square area that you can get that signal in. You walk indoors, you don't get it. So I think the realities of 5G are sort of coming to fruition now that Apple have gotten on board that train. And
the network is still very new. Like,
yeah, it's in its infancy.
It'll 100% give it 2 or 3 years. It'll be like 4G now.
Yeah,
Because the whole point of 5G really is it makes the telco's life easier. They can get more users on the same tower with better speeds and lower latency at less cost. For them, it's a no-brainer to upgrade to 5G and then turn off 3G and use some of that bandwidth for 5G. And you've got more modern network with legacy stuff that's a bit more harder to manage. So it'll definitely be blanket coverage. It's just a matter of timing and how much you can actually physically upgrade. There's only so many people who can do this work that can blanket the whole country, like especially a country like Australia, in 5G. So yeah, but I wouldn't rush towards it at the moment. It's not unless you want fixed like mobile. If you use mobile hotspot a lot, it's fantastic because you can get way better speed, way better latency. So instead of it being 20 to 30 milliseconds, it's like 10 to 15 milliseconds. So it's a big difference in how you surf the web and how you do stuff like audio chats and video chats. It's a big difference in that latency.
We'll finish things off with a quick one. I am in Adelaide at the moment, so I thought this would be a nice little story to put in at the end there. But Adelaide City Council, I should say, the City of Adelaide, has connected its 1,000th building to its citywide 10 gigabit network. That's pretty impressive speeds. Running to the basement of 1,000 buildings in the CBD. They call it, is it the Gig City or Giga City is one of the initial. Yep. 1,000 buildings across the CBD and North Adelaide. I don't think there's 1,000 buildings in the Adelaide CBD.
Like, is there actually 1,000 buildings in North Adelaide and Adelaide? So must be all of them then.
Yeah, it'd have to be. Like you couldn't have an office building. I should ask my brother. He's a commercial real estate agent, so he'd know. TPG Telecom obviously doing the rollout. It is a damn impressive initiative. If I was looking at setting up office somewhere in Adelaide, having that connection available for a reasonable price is something that I would be extremely interested in.
Well, you can get gigabit internet symmetrical, so 1,000 up, 1,000 down, for like $2.99 or $3.99 a month.
Which is like, yeah, I think my office in Melbourne is a lit building with TPG, and I think we still pay about $600 a month.
Yeah.
And the up isn't that impressive. It's consistent with what we're paying for, but it's not mind blowing by any means. So for $2.99,
yeah,
it's biscuits.
And if you want the 10 gig, that's a bit like, I'm not 100% sure what you use it for. It seems to be like site to site stuff. So if you have one office in the Adelaide CBD and you have another one in Adelaide CBD, the data between it is at 10 gig. But I don't know how many businesses would have multiple offices in the Adelaide CBD
No,
where they need to send that much data across.
I don't think there's any at all, to be honest.
Yeah. So I think it's very much future proofing and having that kind of headline grabber. That's like,
Yeah,
hey, Adelaide's a future city. We have the technology. Please bring your business here and use this network. And who knows, there might be things that people haven't thought of that when you have that network available, suddenly you can go, maybe we will do this. Maybe this becomes feasible. And Adelaide's the only place really that you can do it in Australia. So
yeah.
hopefully it brings more business to that part of the world.
Good on you, Adelaide. COVID free and 10 gigabit internet to your front doorstep. Wonder if you can get it as a residential owner in the CBD. That'd be interesting.
If you run a business there and the building is wide up, possibly. They could turn a blind eye. I remember looking for a friend. He has like in South Yarra, he has like a townhouse, and there's fiber in the street, like a dark fiber. So I think it was Vocus, and they have like an Internet Express plan. It's like $500 a month for, I think at the time it was 400 megabit up and down, and they only sell it to businesses. So he asked and said, it's a house, but I run my business out of it. And they're like, technically we're supposed to businesses only, but if you just say on the form you've got like 5 employees, we'll going to check if it's actually employees there. So maybe if you do that in Adelaide, no one's going to check it. Is this actually a business? Are there employees there? I think as long as the bills are paid, they're not going to make up too much of a fuss.
And why would you? Just get on board. We've got a few people watching, so if there's anyone watching the live stream and want to dip in with the questions before we end up the show, please do so. But whilst people are doing that, we're giving them time to. And where can the people of the internets find your good self?
thesizzle.com.au and Twitter, description on Twitter.
I've noticed that the Sizzle webpage is all nice and new now.
Yes, it's I'm not using Substack anymore. I'm using back to similar to what I had about 2 years ago, where I kind of have more control over the I call it the upsell process to get people to give me money. So that kind of marketing end of things.
I was going to say the artistic direction.
Well, yeah, and that too, I can change the layout to whatever I want. Whereas Substack, you can't. Not that it's that much different than what was there before. It's pretty much just black text, white background, and a bit of pink here and there.
How long ago was the photo with Bart Simpson taken?
2 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. I went to Los Angeles, and they had at Universal Studios.
But the Simpsons are at Universal Studios?
Yeah. There's a Springfield there.
Oh, wow.
So it's like a mini
I had no
Springfield.
idea. Huh.
Yeah, and you can go to Moe's and get a flaming Moe.
Yeah, wow.
And you can go to the Quickie Mart and get a slushie. And there's this really crappy ride. It's like a 4D virtual experience where Homer gets stuck on a roller coaster and you're behind Homer and you got to the thing moves around. It's like a big screen and you're in like this car that moves around.
Yeah.
Instead of being on an actual roller coaster.
Kind of like the Batman ride at Movie World or something like that.
Yeah, similar to that. Yeah.
Okay. And you can find me on website reckoner.com.au, the one that you've all seen and heard, I presume. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching or listening to this. And Twitter at RajDeut. Nothing coming through on the question front, but I want to have a quick shout out to our good friend and original Reckoner alumni, Peter Wells, and his podcast Meta. He had someone who I guess 20-year-old me would have been really impressed by on the show, Tim Ross from American Rosso. He interviewed Tim Ross is a architectural and design nut, for those of you who didn't know, and he has a new podcast series up, which goes into detail about the tapestries at the Sydney Opera House. Yeah, and where they've come from. Look, it must be fascinating to a lot of people, Ant, but it may not be your cup of tea. But to have the opportunity to speak to Tim Ross, that's pretty cool in my book. So good work, Pete.
I think if you want a good podcast that Pete does, there's one called The Help Desk.
Help Desk, yeah.
Which is every day. It's kind of like The Sizzle, but in a podcast form. So if you can't read and you want to listen instead, you can get The Help Desk on iTunes or whatever and listen to Pete talk about some tech news.
I think that's through not specifically through Acast, but it's an Acast sort of funded one. So
they pop the ads into the show.
Yeah, nice.
So Pete gets paid.
I did. The help desk has been really interesting. Pete has such a unique voice and way of presenting. Like, he's just so calm. I think it's really good. So,
I'll talk about Pete. Pete is the normal person. Like, he knows how to interpret technology without the nerd stuff. Like, he knows to that's nerd bullshit. Don't worry about that. This is the legitimate stuff.
This is the interesting.
Whereas we seem to focus on stuff that only really dorks and nerds would care about, whereas normal people don't seem to care. But Pete knows how to find out what actually is the concern to the normal person in the street.
Translate it for the masses.
Yep.
We did have one question come in. Sorry, quick. I'll just. Jonathan has asked. He spent the night transferring his Xbox storage to transfer the Xbox Series X. Are you guys upgrading? Yes, I am, Jonathan. I am getting a new Xbox, which should be arriving next week. Didn't get a PS5, but that was more out of me just not being awake at the right time to order one. But we'll look at doing so soon. Ant, you're not investing in the new consoles?
Not at the moment, but I am tempted to get an Xbox Series X for the projector for the cinema room. That would be pretty cool.
Why an Xbox Series X?
Well, isn't that the beefiest one?
Yeah, it is.
Isn't that the best one?
Oh, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's all right.
So why not? it's a 4K thing.
I love it. I love the. Well, I mean, you could get the Series S, which is the slimmer white one, and that does. It's like 1440p basically, and then up-res or whatever.
If I've got a 4K projector, I want a 4K game.
I love it.
I'll play like one game a year on it.
Oh, we're getting all the questions now. Do you want to? We'll do another one quickly. All right. Yeah. Josh has asked, "What's your favourite gadget or product from Techtober?"
Techtober.
Techtober is just like October. Everyone announces products in October.
What's come out? I don't know.
What's come out? The new iPhone.
Okay.
Didn't Samsung release or announce the new the new flip phone, the second version of that?
Useless phones. I still want the Surface Duo, even though that is being panned by a lot of people. I still want to try it for myself, but it's not coming. There's no date for Australia, so
no. I mean, you could get one if you really wanted one. But
true, I could import it from the USA, but it costs a lot. It's like $2,500 to get 1 cent in the taxes and shipping and all that.
I really like the looks of the new AMD Radeon cards. They look pretty special, but without ray tracing, which after playing Control with ray tracing, I find it really difficult to go back now. So a very, very good example of how to do that, how to use that technology really well. So I don't know, but that's reliant on people actually using it in the future. Anyway, that'll be my pick, I think. Yeah, sure. Why not? Cool. All right. Well, let's leave it there. Thank you everyone for tuning in live and watching us there. Thank you for everyone that's listening to it in your car, home. You're probably not on a train because that's not really a thing people do anymore, or wherever it might be that you're listening. We appreciate you and your time dedicated to joining us, and we will hopefully be back in a couple of weeks. They seem to be going good, I think. Yeah, all right. Something different.
I have fun.
Yeah. Well, that's what's important, is that you enjoy it, Ant, and that I enjoy it. So everyone else is that's just an added extra. That's a bonus.
Come along for the ride.
That's cream. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, mate. We'll see everyone else in a couple of weeks.
See everyone.
Bye.